Well folks, here we are, the final day of Special Projects Pack number 3 with the 9th build, this time an old school Porsche 911 GT2. Of course, in last month's selection I did the newer 911 GT2 RS, this time a 993 generation back from the 90s, the OG GT2, and this one actually surprised me quite a bit because it's a really forgiving car, which probably isn't that accurate, but it's how it's turned out, so at least you know that you can have, a lot of fun with it. Now, I made one major change from what the livery designer did, and of course I will have flashed up their name on screen, or maybe do it now, and that is the wheels, so we'll get to that in a second. As far as the actual parts first of all though, based on what site you look up, you will find different numbers for the GT2, and I noticed as well that in the later 90s they updated the horsepower, so it got a bit more powerful later on in the run, so I'm looking more in that kind of range of around 428 horses and 1215 kilos. So if you want to change up the numbers, go with a different year or different online source, then that's fine. Now, as far as the tuning, this is another one of those builds where I fitted a number of different exhausts to find which one was best, so you don't need the sports silencer. I would go for the sports pads, the stage 1 weight. I am still running the sports hard tyres, of course you want it to feel like an authentic road car. We've got the high lift cams, sports discs, the power restrictor is fitted, and the ballast is as well. As far as the semi-racing stuff, we've got the crank, the ECU. Again, you don't need the semi-race silencer, we've just gone for the full racing one. The fully customised limited slip diff, the semi-race clutch and flywheel. Then for the racing stuff, we've gone for the balance tuning, polished ports, the racing filter, and you do want the racing silencer, that's what I've gone for. The manifold as well, the fully customised suspension, and then for the extreme stuff, nothing is fitted there. So it's pretty simple. It is a pretty easy tune to do, and the base car isn't too far off a GT2 anyway. So when you do, or if you do, choose to add this particular player's representation of the car, which is a pretty damn good looking one, I think. Like I said, all I changed was the rims, and I went for these. They are Workmeister S1Rs, and like I said, the reason why I did is because with the other wheels, they just look way too lost in the arches with the standard ones, and making them wider and spacing them out really does make all the difference in terms of the visuals. So if you don't want to do that and stick with what they've done, that's also fine, but that's a change that I chose to make. So of course, give them some love from me and go and download that design. As far as the tuning though, to actually change the car and make it feel good, in other words, we've got the sports hards of course fitted. For the suspension, I've actually changed it up a little bit compared to what you would usually expect, being equal front and rear. It's a little bit higher on the front, and that's actually to make the car have a bit less of a cheese wedge shape and a bit more of a, even flat look to it. But not by much, it's barely that different. 87mm on the front, 83 on the back. 6 for the anti-roll, so fairly high for a road spec car. 36 for the compression on the dampers with 45 on the rebound. 2.6 for the springs, only 1 degree of camber, probably surprising for a rear-wheel drive car. As far as the tow, we've got it towed in, 20 on the rear, towed out 5 on the back. As far as the diff, I've opted for 20, 45 and 35 as you can see. Standard transmission, as I said, the power restrictor and the ECU are untouched in this form, and I have added 79 kilos of ballast, like I said earlier on, to bring us up to the weight that I'm using from my online research at least, which is 1215 kilos, and I've opted even, to change up the distribution just to give it a little bit of a boost there as well on stability, putting that 50% toward the front, or in effect all the way to the front to improve that, so it's 44% over the front now. Now the downforce you cannot adjust on this particular one, and the other parts here you can see what I have and haven't fitted as I showed you just now. So all that remains, of course, is to jump out to Laguna Seca so that you can see what the car is like in practice. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, I was really surprised after I did this build. This is kind of the sleeper of the pack, I think, because it's a car that's kind of easy to overlook. As cool as it is, it's easy to overlook because of how flashy some of the other ones are, and it's a car which, to be honest, I expected to have to do quite a lot of work to it to make it feel fun, rather than just a challenge all the time, especially with the reputation that GT2s tended to have back in the day with the 993 and the 996, but it's great. This is actually one of the most forgiving and fun cars of all 10. So if you are a fan of the GT2, I mean, if you are, chances are you've probably got one built anyway, but give this a try and I think you might really like it. It looks great, it sounds great because of the larger big bore, racing exhausts, which are a bit over the top, but we gotta have some fun sometimes. And as far as the handling and the performance, it's very good, especially given that it's less than 600 points. So even without doing anything else to it, you could quite easily use this for 600 point events on those sports hard tyres for, of course, road cars, and this really could be a weapon. So not just a fun car and a fun representation of a real car that isn't in the game, but also potentially quite a useful one. So if you do decide to use it, of course, I hope you have a ton of fun with it, and doubtless it won't be the last time we visit Porsche in these packs. They are, of course, always popular. So stick around for, of course, the last build of all 10 later on today, and check out the other 8 that I've already done in the week if you haven't already. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.